What's in a question? Maybe just about everything important. If you're big on nightlife, then this is extraordinarily important. Diane joins us in the studio to talk about, I think, a South Korean alcoholic beverage synonymous with nightlife right here at home for us. Good morning, Diane.
Good morning. Happy hump day.
You're really taking the morning pick-me-up to a whole new level.
Yes.
You're skipping morning.
Yes.
Going right into the evening, it seems.
Right. Or for those of who have not went to bed yet.
This is a good point.
Right.
Not in Seoul. Maybe halfway around the world for us.
Yeah.
Nice save.
Right.
Good job, Diane.
There you go.
All right. Let's extend our question of the day once more to all of our listeners.
All right. So question, why are soju bottles green? I mean, it's something that we've just taken for granted, right?
Yeah.
Brown beer bottles, black wine bottles, and green soju bottles. But I'll come back to this question later.
Are wine bottles black or is it like a dark green?
I thought it was black.
I think it's dark green, Diane.
Okay, so it's dark green.
And now I'm beginning to wonder,
Right.
is there a theme there? Is green the color? But anyway, these are all speculations. Diane
Right.
has the actual answers, guys.
Yes.
Now, first, let's explain what is soju to all of our listeners.
So soju is a clear distilled spirit with an alcohol content between 16 to 53%. And if you're a foreigner and have watched any Korean dramas, in those dramas, when characters celebrate good news or sulk with their friends, there is always one thing in common, which is green bottles of soju spread across the table.
Spread across the table.
Right.
Messy.
I mean, they just don't stop with one bottles. So it's not a thing.
It's really interesting, right? Because I think soju, like a lot of hard liquors across the world, has the intent to get somebody very, very intoxicated. That's why you see it spread across the table.
Right. I mean, soju, therefore, is the obvious choice when going out for a drink with people in Korea. The iconic green bottles are a must at 회식, which is after work dinners, while hanging out with friends or to accompany a wide variety of foods.
Bonus is that soju has always been relatively affordable as opposed
Of
to
course.
premium beers or
Yes.
even wine.
Right.
Now, seeing all these people drinking soju at dinner places with whichever food of their choice, the market share of the product in the nation would be huge.
Right. So according to the Korea Agro-Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation, in 2020, 3.7 trillion won, or $3 billion of soju, was sold in South Korea.
In a year?
In a year.
Wow.
So although the figure was down 0.92% due to there being less soju consumed with large gatherings banned during the pandemic.
But it was only a 0.92% decrease?
Right, only. So it was less than 1% decrease. So the pandemic didn't really affect it
Do
much.
anything, huh?
Right.
All
So
right.
it still made up 42.1% of the alcohol sales market,
Yeah.
followed by a beer with less than 40%.
I guess it's not just about social gatherings. Some people like to drink soju alone.
Right.
Or in small
I
gatherings.
mean, it has become a thing, right? Drinking alone at home.
Do you think Korean dramas and contents play a role in that? I mean, there's a
Probably.
certain image attached to having a really tough and bad day.
Right.
Just soju and
Right,
a little bit of
soju is
glass.
like the go-to beverage.
If you haven't tried it, there's a reason why I'm making a face. Like, if you're not a big drinker, it's kind of a tough one to swallow.
Right.
Now, how did the green bottle drink become this popular in the first place? Because, can I be honest with you? It's not as if it's tasty.
Right, for us, right? For non-drinkers.
A disclaimer, Diane and I are not big drinkers.
Right. I mean, there are people who say that soju has a really clean taste and is really good with a lot of different food, right?
Because it's bland.
Right, because it's bland. But for us, it's too bland, right?
All right.
So as you mentioned, one of the reasons soju became so popular is for its cheap price.
Sure.
A bottle of soju sells for less than 2,001 or $1.55 at discount stores and convenience stores. And it's sold for around 4,001 or about $3.10 at restaurants and bars.
Really cheap.
Right, so it's really, really cheap. So in the past, soju was around 1,001 a bottle, which is less than $1. And you would have to get 4 times the amount of beer and pay more than triple the cost to get drunk if you go for a beer instead of soju. So soju was a go-to drink for everyone because it was cheap. And the fast culture, the 빨리빨리 culture in South Korea helped people to drink soju more because you get drunk faster.
So it is about efficiency.
Right.
It's cost effective.
Efficiency, yes.
And it gets you intoxicated faster if that is a goal. And it
Right.
feels like if the green bottle is your drink of choice, the goal and the objective is really clear.
Right.
Get drunk fast.
Yes.
All right. But looking back, It wasn't always this way. And now that we're seeing more premium soju lines, I think people understand that it wasn't always designed to be affordable
Right.
and the common man's drink. In fact, I think there's a more intricate process in creating the traditional soju.
Right. So if we go back to the history, it wasn't always considered this cheap.
Okay.
It's written in the annals of the Joseon dynasty that King Sejong received various complaints from officials regarding soju, saying that this drink should be prohibited from being used at parties because of the huge cost.
It was expensive.
Right. Jibong Yusar, which is a record of life during the era of King Gwangaegun, published in 1614, states that nobles are living an extravagant life, drinking soju until they get drunk.
Okay.
So it was expensive, and for the nobles as well.
It was a sign of luxury,
Right.
not the inverse.
Yes. Now the soju we know today was developed around 1965 when the government prohibited manufacturers from using rice grown in Korea to make the drink.
Because rice was much more precious back then.
Right. The main reason was the shortage of rice in Korea due to the huge famine of 1963.
Times have changed, and
Right.
it's as if we have an oversupply of rice in certain seasons, and so I guess it has shifted a great deal from decades ago. But in the 60s, the government literally banned the use of rice
Right.
to make soju. So what did they use instead?
So rather than distilling a blend of high quality rice and grains to make soju with an array of unique scents and taste, alcohol makers switched to using other starches, using cheaper ones such as sweet potatoes and imported tapioca, and are still used in the most common soju today.
And that's why it's cost effective.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, this took away the unique taste and aroma of soju, they say, creating this harsh, flavorless alcohol we know today. However, some people like it.
It's funny because I think Diane and I are entirely biased. Harsh,
we are.
flavorless
Yes,
alcohol.
yeah, I put that in there.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's interesting because depending on who you ask, it's the same drink and they would have an entirely different review of it. So to each their own.
Right.
Now, returning to the question of the day once more, this iconic green color on the bottle must have caught people's attention as well, because I guess I never questioned it because who cares? I don't drink it, but I mean, it could have been any other, it could have been clear. So why green?
So that's one thing that people notice when they see the various soju to choose from. Most bottles are green and they are shaped the same as well. Originally, soju used to be in different color bottles like brown, white, and blue, like you said. But everything changed when Doosan Beverage Company released the green soju in 1994.
It's relatively recent, huh?
Right. It chose that color green to advertise that its soju had a clean and mild taste, and it was an immediate hit.
It's so funny because what does that have to do with marketing?
Right, marketing
folks.
strategy, right? And it worked. It was a huge hit. The green soju had a 30% share of the Korean soju market in 1999, and other soju makers quickly jumped on the bandwagon to also sell their products in green bottles.
Okay, it's really simple as that.
Right.
Huh? It was about branding, and it was so
Yeah.
successful that other soju makers decided this is profitable.
Right.
Now, companies really took advantage of the same colored bottle.
Yes. So with everyone making green bottle soju, companies went a step further and decided to work together to make production efficient. So 7 soju companies, including Lotte Chilsung Beverage, Heights Jinlo, Daesun Distilling, and Hallasan Soju, made a voluntary agreement with each other in 2009 to manufacture soju in green bottles with the same size and design so they can easily be reused.
Recycling.
Right.
Okay.
So they went green.
Okay.
Literally.
Green bottles going green.
Right, green bottles, going green. So
Yeah.
empty soju bottles are collected at restaurants and by individuals and can be sold back to soju makers for 30 to 100 won a bottle.
Okay.
According to the Korea Vessel Recycling Association, about 98% of soju bottles were collected in 2020, and 85% of them were clean and reused, which is remarkable.
That's really impressive.
Right.
I didn't realize how effective that was. I guess
Right.
that's what it takes. You
Yeah.
you take all the major soju makers and say, we make the bottles same, we make recycling easy, and
Yes.
give incentives to those who want to sell the bottles
Yeah.
back. Now, the problem is it only takes one to break a trend.
Right.
One company out of the 7 broke the long-standing pack.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Because the agreement is only voluntary and not bound by law, some alcohol makers started to bottle their soju in different color bottles.
To give themselves a competitive edge.
Right. The eco-friendly and efficient system hit a snag in April 2019 when Haite Jinlo launched a new soju brand called Jinlo is Back in a transparent, colorless bottle with a less curvy contour.
It's funny because they should have put it in writing and stamped it or something because you're right. It was just good words and promises.
Right.
And one can break it.
Yes.
There's another interesting fact about soju for any visitors to South Korea. One of our listeners actually said, I've never tried it before. So, yeah.
Oh, you never tried soju? Oh, okay. You might be able to see soju on the shelves of your grocery market soon.
Oh, really?
Right.
What's happening?
Well, we'll get to that later.
Okay,
in the part.
okay.
So an interesting fact about soju is that taste and brands differ from the region in South Korea. So it would be a fun experience for travelers around the nations to try each and one of them whenever they're visiting a particular region.
You know how we have an Arirang Radio branch on Jeju-do Island?
Right.
The first thing I think we do as a team bonding experience is have the Jeju-do version of it.
Right.
And it's, I don't know, for me, who's not a connoisseur, I can't tell the difference. But apparently there is a big difference.
There's a huge difference, they say. Like, we can't detect it, but...
I'll take your word for it.
They are totally distinct from each other.
Okay.
So Seoul drinkers drink 참이슬, and Gangwon-do province drinks 처음처럼, Busan drinks 대선 or 시원, C1. 경상남도 province drinks 좋은데이, and Jeju-do Island has 한라산.
That's me.
So the soju bottles work like a regional local stamp for you to remember that later.
I mean, we like themes. And
Right.
this is like a fun way to get stamps across the country.
Yeah, I mean, soju stamps.
So,
Soju bottle stamps.
remembering the trip around South Korea with different types of soju sounds like a really fun way to keep track. It sounds about right. And now this national alcoholic beverage is, as you've said, gaining popularity across the world, riding high on this Hallyu wave.
Yeah, I mean, MZs, millennials, and Gen Zers in Southeast Asia are driving up the sales of soju, it seems. Haitsinlo's soju exports last year amounted to $102 million, which was up 36% from the previous year. It's a big jump.
Sure.
This is twice as much as in 2019 before the coronavirus. In Southeast Asia, where the market's growing rapidly, soju exports increased more than 55% in 2 years from 2019 to about $27 million last year.
Look at that.
Right.
I mean, is this considered soft power now? I'm not quite sure.
I think so.
Going much further beyond borders. Now, sales in European countries are also rising, which is kind of an unexpected set of results.
So usually sales of soju, especially in European countries, were difficult because of the taste of soju is a bit strange to Europeans.
To be fair, it's strange to some Koreans too.
Right, that's very true. Not to mention different food to enjoy with.
Oh, that's also a good
Southeast
point.
Asian countries have similar taste to what South Korean eats.
And strong flavors.
Right, strong flavors like spicy food.
Yeah.
But in European food, they have different cuisines. So usually their dishes don't really match with the soju. So
That's
it was
the assumption anyway.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, I talked about it, Erica, a few times how they try to, pair
Right.
Korean distilled drinks with European and American food. So things like that.
So they have been, and it's working. But Haitsinlo recently announced that exports to Europe last year increased by 44% compared to the previous year. So it seems like the entire world has fallen for this green bottle beverage from South Korea. So I'm interested to see all different kinds of dishes across the world to be matched and enjoyed with the drink. Like, let's see if there's any surprise combination with soju.
Because you can mix it with other drinks to make it tastier, right? I've seen, all these flavored sojus too, right? Peach, yogurt, blah, 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 blah. One of our listeners from halfway across the world, Tata H3 says, good morning. First time to post since I'm preparing for work this time. Thanks for joining us. This person adds, but can't help but share that I gave out soju as a gift to office colleagues for Christmas
so
last
nice.
year. That's wonderful.
I wonder how they react.
I do wonder because you have to
Right.
watch them drink it, right? Another listener, Jay Lee, chiming in. It's too expensive in America. Yeah, that we cannot fix. That's a whole supply chain thing.
Right. But then more demand will lead to more supply.
What?
To...
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And if there is more, I suppose, boatloads coming in, it should be more affordable.
Yeah.
A disclaimer to end the segment.
Yes.
Soju is designed for adults and adults only, and drinks, like all things good, should be done in moderation.
Right. I mean, drink responsibly.
Thank you very much.
Right.
You sound like a PSA. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
We have our People segment with Hyun coming up next.